Doodlebud, today we're doing a review of this cool little Kaweco Student. This pen I feel is kind of flying under the radar. It's getting overlooked a little bit, but I've been using it for a week now, and I gotta tell you, this thing has been performing absolutely fantastic. We're gonna compare it with some other pens from a size comparison right with it. Check it out, talk a little bit about the design, functionality, everything else. So let's just get to it. So I was very fortunate to have this pen sent to me to review, provided by Pen Chalet. Comes in this little box with a covering there, nothing too crazy we haven't seen before, but simple little cardboard box with the Kaweco branding. And then the cool Kaweco tin. This is a really nice touch that they do. I really like it. It's got the stamped in lettering, so it's got that texture to it as well. Just a really good job on that. You can carry this with you, probably maybe carry some other pens in there, some cartridges, and let's show you what's inside. The pen is down here, what's hiding on me. Comes with this little cover on there, and didn't come with the converter, but instead, when you pop it open, it had these two in it. So this one was stuck into the section, and then behind it, stacked on it there, if we can get some kind of focus, was just a regular standard Kaweco, which is the international standard size cartridge as well, and the pen was just sitting in like here. So this is a nice little touch. Again, a lot of packaging seems kind of useless, but this is the type of box that I like, and you can just use it for a bunch of other stuff as well. Enough about the packaging. This is what's inside. So this is the Kaweco Student. Now, it was actually on another trip a few months ago to Victoria there on Vancouver Island. Had to do some business over there. There's a pen shop locally called Simply the Best. He's got a ton of stuff in that store. And also a reasonable size collection of fountain pens. You can check out his website as well. And I asked him, I go, you've been doing this for a while. What's like a pen you got right now that you're just recommending to people if they want to get into fountain pens or a gift? Pulled this out as actually this exact one. This comes in a few different colors. He's like, this pen right here just works extremely well. Has some nice looks to it as well. I think it's, anyone can get behind the design of this pen here too. So this version is, they kind of did a decades one. So this is the first one. This is the 20s jazz, they call it. There's a 20s, a 30s. They skipped the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s with just a different color on the cap, but some really cool colors. It reminds me of a lot of old cars. I was at a recent event here in the Lower Mainland in the Burnaby area. There's a festival called Hats Off Day, and some of the colors that they choose on the Kaweco Students reminded me of some of the classic cars they had on display there as well. I'll give you some details on the pens as far as size and nib options, all that kind of good stuff, but to get a good feel of this, let's just head straight into those glam shots. Now, to give you an idea of dimension size-wise of this pen, we will do a comparison, but just to run through the dimensions, 131 and a quarter like this, pop off the cap. You can write with it unposted. For most people, that'd be fine, but you can see in my hand a little bit short. It's running at 119 millimeters or so. You post the pen now, it depends how deep you post it. It's not an overly deep posting pen, but it is secure. Now you're looking at about 160 millimeters, and it feels quite good in my hand. As far as diameter of the pen, so the main pen body here, this is about 12.8. The cap is about 14.4. The section on this flat spot, so the widest, we're there about 10.5. You have this little taper down, flares out again, but about 9 millimeters at the thinnest, and the overall length of the section is about 22 millimeters. Here's a close-up of the nib. You can see here I have an extra fine. Underneath you can see I got a real sheeny ink in here. We're going to show you in a moment. If we can get that the right way. You got the Kaweco branding on the bottom. There's a picture of the feed. This is the same gear that you get on your little Kaweco Sport. So I'll show you just side-by-side comparison. We're all familiar with that. So we got the same gear that we're running in there. I will just to show you the difference between an extra fine and a fine in case you're debating on which nib is the right size for you. I'll do that in the writing sample. I figure you could pick it up from the Glam Shots, but we got the Kaweco there on the band, a few dots. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Germany on the back end, and then we got the Kaweco logo that we've seen before at the top there, the finial. Nice, beautiful kind of brown color here as well. On the back, it's got Kaweco Student. Now, I am a little confused with the term student. I don't know if it's meant to be for student or just what. I think maybe that's why it gets overlooked. Maybe it downplays the pen. You think it's a little bit cheap. This is meant for a student. The price point is at a kind of a mid-price pen. It's above, you know, that 50 and up sort of range. This one would go for standard on for 70. The other color versions are listed for 60. Of course, sometimes you can catch a bit of a sale going on depending time of year and whatnot as well. I know July the 4th, Pen Chalet typically has some type of sale, so keep your peepers out for that as well. You got this cream colored body. The trim here has sort of a gold plating color to it as well. Metal section that we got, pop that off. The threads are really good. Nothing's murdering each other with the plastic onto the metal threads there on the section, so that's quite nice. I believe that's feels like a brass section most likely. Converter, like I said, not included, but you know, you take your standard international converter. This one happens to be off of a Faber-Castell pen or just a Faber-Castell converter I put on there as well. Fits in there nice, and again, you can use your cartridges as well. A few little things I always like whenever you got plastic on metal is they don't run the threads to the very end. That's just a pain point. If you want your threads to get pulled out with plastic going on to metal, yeah, run your threads all the way to the bottom. They don't do that. They give some space. You can see down in the body there just a little bit, nothing too much going on. But very simple, classic styling. I think this is appropriate for sort of any occasion, whether it's for business, for work, for being a student, as the name recommends. It's just got a real kind of classic styling to it as well. They got some nice color options too. I like this, I'll just call it the decades version for the content of this video. I find those different colors they have for the cap go well with the body and the overall styling. It's just, yeah, it's very, very fitting, very suiting, but classic looking pen. What we're going to do now, we'll chuck it on the scale, see what it comes in at, do some writing samples, and chat a little bit more. Got my little scale out, and I've had a few people ask, so if you're watching this video and you're wondering, I just got this on Amazon. If you just look up like mini digital scale on Amazon, you'll find this one or ones like it. I do like that it has a standard weight that comes with it. So this is a 50 grammer. So if something happens, you can see they adjusted it a bit to get pretty close. You can put it on there, and there's instructions, all that stuff, how to reset it. But that's just a way to check your measurement tool. You got to have a standard. So let's chuck the pen on there. Where are we at? 26.3. The cap, what do we got there? 9.3. So the rest of the weight is in the body. The other 17 grams, I should say. And that is with converter and ink. There we go. The pens I chose for size comparison today, actually I went a little vintage action because those seem pretty darn close. So here we got, this is a Faber-Castell Emotion, Kaweco Sport. We got the Student here, Schaefer PFM. That's the version 5. And I got this Parker Dual Fold that the restoration video will be coming up hopefully fairly soon. I got some time because I finally got my parts to restore that. So looking forward to there. But you can see size-wise very close to that PFM and that Dual Fold, and that's a senior size. We are again, caps are off. As you can see, I chose those vintage pens because it is close in size, but also I think it just has a bit of a vintage feel with that styling too. Let's post the pens and see how we do. And finally, here we are with the pens posted. So plenty long, pretty much the same as that Dual Fold Senior. So just a comment on the overall styling as I was playing with this pen and using it. Like I said, it's worked really great. I'm going to do a writing sample in a moment. I almost thought this might be a bit of a bridge pen too. I know in the fountain pen world, there can be sort of this hardcore divide sometimes of you are only a vintage pen person or you only like modern pens. I take the buffet approach. I just do whatever. If I like it, I like it. If it's old, if it's new, if it, whatever, I really don't care too much. If I like it, I like it. But some folks draw that line. And if you are on the vintage only line, and there's just no new modern pens that appeal to you, this might be a pen that makes you dip your toe over to the modern line. It sort of has those types of stylings that you might look for, that sort of classicness and color patterns, especially with these kind of decades line. You might choose a different decade. So that might be an option. Or if you were a modern pen only person, because you just hate these filling systems and you got to get new sacks in them and all that stuff, but you sort of do like the styling, well, this might be an option for you as well, to sort of have that classic vintage sort of look to it as well, with the brass and shininess, all that kind of good stuff that goes with the vintage style. But you still have the modern day parts and machining capabilities and methods that are used, your standard cartridge converter pen as well. So all that good stuff you're used to using on your current modern day pens, you can do with this one as well, of course. Not to mention a cool thing with Kaweco, I know it is a smaller nib, but you got extra fine all the way up to double broad, which is pretty cool for these pens. And if you got some other sports, you can swap them in and out. The ink I'm using today is a Vinta ink. It's a sheeny one, and it goes by the name of Marhalika. Comes in these bottles here, and just like all other sheeny inks, the second you get near it, it does stain you as well. But let's get to it and show you how this puppy writes. Just so you can have a better look, here's a close-up of the writing sample. It draws a nice extra fine line. Wetness is good, and it's got enough, even though it's an extra fine, there's enough you can start to see the sheen from that Vista Marhalika ink. And you can see the difference between the extra fine and a fine. The fine, yeah, just a little bit thicker. I hadn't used my Kaweco Sport in a bit, so I think it was just a little bit dry. It's been sitting for quite some time, but a little bit finer from that extra fine. As I mentioned on here, I think this is a fantastic pen. And I think it'd also be good for signatures. It's just, if you want something that's not like over the top, but, maybe this is your signature pen, this is your sign-off pen, or you just want something nice to have with you, and it's not over the top and extravagant, but still looks good. I think it's great for that. Another good thing about the pen, it's one rotation to take off. So it's just quick you can even spin it off and the body comes right out really quick. So another good reason, good for notes. If you don't have a pop cap, you like the screw cap. Also, it makes it a little more secure, so you don't have to worry about it popping off. But the nice thing with it, one spin and she's out, which is quite a nice feature with the pen as well. All in all, I really like it. So my overall thoughts on the pen, in case you haven't gotten the drift, I quite like it. I think the guy there who runs Simply the Best in Victoria is onto something when he says he recommends this pen. I think it just goes under the radar because of the name, but the size is good. It functions quite well. You got some nice color options, lots of nib options. It can please lots of people depending, with different hand sizes. It does have the metal section, so I know a lot of folks don't like it because it's slick, but with that contour it has, I don't really have an issue with it, and it's fairly light, so even if it does get a little bit slick, it's not a super heavy pen where gripping it, you got to put a little more pressure on it if you have a heavy pen. Posting is good, just everything about it, it's quite nice. I'd say the only sort of knock I would have at it, it just would be nice if it did come with a converter on the pen at this price point. Sort of like the Lamy LX I reviewed recently, would be nice if they included a converter there. I would say same thing here, that would be great. Instead of it's a little weird, the blank cartridge, I don't know, give me two cartridges or something instead of a blank one. I've never seen that before. I thought that was kind of odd. So instead of that, throw in a converter, or at least give me two cartridges there too. But that would be about the only little critique I have on the pen. Other than that, I think this thing is executed really well. Maybe it's just the name. Maybe that's why this pen doesn't seem to get as much love, and I don't see it showing up too much. It's just the name. People maybe think lesser of it or something along those lines, but it is not a lesser pen, I can tell you that. So a big thank you to Pen Chalet providing me this gorgeous Kaweco Student for review. Like I said, I've been very happy with the pen. I am also going to be happy the review's done, because I'm going to flush this pen out with this friggin' sheeny ink. Sheening inks are really cool, but they get absolutely everywhere and they stain everything. If you look at the bottle, your hand gets dirty. So looking forward, I'm going to put a different colored ink in here. I just thought I would give it a try. Also, thank you to everyone who's been watching, supporting the channel, checking out my videos, hitting like, subscribes, and leaving comments. Like I said, I think this is a nice gateway pen for people who are on the vintage side, wanting to maybe try a modern, or on the modern, thinking about a vintage style looking pen. It's a sharp looking pen. Give it a chance. I think this is underrated. So anyways, hope that helps you out. Questions, comments, all that stuff I'll be checking out to engage with you. Leave it there for now. Catch you next time.